Hey everyone, and welcome to this latest Foundations video brought to you by Connect Church. And as I've mentioned so many times already in these sessions, my name is Tom MacDonald, and I have the privilege of leading this wonderful community. Now, in the last 19 sessions, we've covered three key areas: who we are as a church, what matters most to us, and also how you can belong. And in the next session, the final session, session number 21, I'm basically going to do a very quick overview of everything we've covered all in one go. So you can take it all in one last time in a final hit. That's going to be session 21. For this session, session 20, I've asked people during the last 19 sessions to give me some questions. And these came through Facebook, people messaging me on Facebook. And I have 4 questions that people have asked me to mention or clarify about Connect Church. So we're going to do that, and I'm going to share one more thing with you about our community. So let me answer these 4 questions. The first one was about teams. Can you tell us about how leadership teams work? I'll do my very best. You may remember we mentioned right at the beginning, I believe it was even session number 1, we mentioned that we are one church in multiple locations. And this has a huge impact on how we do teams, how we do leadership. The fact that we have multiple locations, we'll talk about in a second, but the fact we're one church, we said as part of that we have one vision, one culture, one resource, and one team. That one team is what we call our leadership team. They oversee all of Connect Church and all of its locations. And our leadership team is led by me as the lead pastor, but is made up of 3 groups. So it's one leadership team for all of Connect, made up of 3 groups of people. The first group is what we call our trustees. Some people might call them board of directors. Some people might call them elders. For us, we call them trustees because they kind of play all of these different roles. They have a spiritual aspect to their role, but they also are involved in charity work, finances, governance, all these kind of things. So we have a board of trustees, of which I am one of the trustees. We also have a chair who leads most of our work as the trustees. So the trustees are the first block of the leadership team. They meet separately to do some of that governance work, charity work, but they are part of the leadership team. The second group that, of course, meet separately and do separate things but are part of the leadership team are our location pastors. Each location that we have has a leader, and they have a seat, if you like, in the leadership team for all of Connect Church. The third layer is what we call our area leaders. Now, you may remember that we said in each location, there are 5 key areas that are always found. They are care, discipleship, gatherings, mission, and children and youth. And each of these areas has a person who leads that area for all locations. So they're not limited to one location or another. They oversee that area for all locations. So we have a care leader over all of Connect Church, for example. We also have a 6th area that has a seat at the leadership team, which is our operations manager. That would be the 6th area, if you like, for our church. So our leadership team across all of Connect Church is made up of our trustees, of which I, as the lead pastor, am one, our location pastors, and our area leaders. They all work separately, doing the things that are particular to their roles, but they come together as the leadership team of Connect. One team. However, we also have location-specific leadership, which is the multiple locations part of who we are. So, for example, I said that we have a care leader over all of Connect, but we would also have a care leader in each of our locations. And the care leader who's on the leadership team would support those location leaders. Of course, they might be a location leader as well, but they would support any other leaders. So, for example, we have a location in Crosby. There is a care leader in Crosby who is supported both by their location pastor and also by the care leader, the central care leader from Connect Church. So that's roughly how our leadership team works. If you want to know more about it, drop us an email. We'll happily try and send you some diagrams and information that might help you a little bit further. But we're one church, so we have one team, but local expressions, and so local leadership to translate and interpret and apply that leadership in their location. Hope that helps you. Second question I was asked was about the Connect Foundation. So let me explain that to you. When we launched as Connect Church, when we set the proposal forward for this transition, for this change, we also promoted this idea of setting up the Connect Foundation, which a lot of our kind of community projects, for example, our food bank, would become a ministry of Connect Foundation. And just to give you an update on that, Connect Foundation, if you're watching this as we're launching these live in October 2020, Connect Foundation is expected to go live in the spring. Obviously, all of that is COVID-19 dependent, but hopefully in the spring, Connect Foundation will launch, and some of our more community-facing projects will become part of Connect Foundation, including Food Bank. The purpose for this is not to get it off churches' books, but to give us more clarity around what things fit best in our organization. Connect Foundation is a separate charity, has its own constitution, has its own set of trustees, but it is in relationship with Connect Church in that the foundation trustees are appointed by Connect Church. So we've created a sister charity that is designed slightly differently to be more flexible and more appropriate for more community type work, different kind of grants, different kind of funding, different kind of structure, in order for it to maximize the work that it does. And to be honest, to really help us fulfill our value, which is to seek the well-being of the community. It gives us an outlet to do that really, really well. So that foundation should be set up and launched in spring 2021, which we're really excited about. There'll be more information about that near the time. The third question I was asked was around finances. This is similar to the Teams one, because you may have noticed that we said one church, multiple locations, that we have one resource. Now, of course, when we say that, some of our locations have very specific resources that are not so easy to share. For example, I'm standing right now in our Ashby Road location in my office there, and it would be very hard to share this resource with, for example, our Crosby location, to pick up my offers and take it down to Crosby. That would be ludicrous. So when we say one resource, there are obviously some things that kind of more belong to one location than another. But what we mean by one resource is that we don't treat ourselves as independent financially. We treat ourselves as one family sharing every resource that we have where possible. And what that does mean is that if, for example, you are a covenant partner in Ashby Road, your tithing, your giving is going to Connect Church. And we don't check that every penny you give stays in your location. What we do check is that it's being used for the vision and mission of Connect Church. And so some of that money may be spent in locations that you never go to, but it's all serving the work that God has called us to do as a family on mission together here at Connect Church. Hope that helps. Again, if you want to ask more questions about finances, then we'd love to help. There are ways in which people can give to Connect Church and do what we call like a restricted fund. So if you had something that you particularly wanted to do or give to in a particular location, we can make that possible, and there's no problem with that. But as a general rule, we want to see it as that we give to the work of God in Connect Church because that's our family, and that's the way we do things. Again, happy to talk more if people need it. Fourth question, the final question I was asked about was about other churches. What impact does us being Connect Church have on other churches in and around us? Hand on heart, we have gone through this process of becoming Connect Church as kind of closely with other churches as we think we can. We've tried to include people in the journey. We've shared information with people. We've asked people for permission to do certain things, particularly in the places where we're establishing new locations. We've done what we think we can do to create a culture locally of churches working together. And as far as I'm aware, that has borne good fruit. That doesn't mean that everything's been easy. That doesn't mean there hasn't been questions. That doesn't mean that some people might not be fully sure about what we're doing. But where possible, we're doing everything we can to make that a good relationship. We are more committed than ever to being part of the local churches together networks where we find ourselves. In fact, I would say that we are playing a leading role in those communities, helping churches come together. And part of our culture as being something that seeks the well-being of the community means that we also seek the well-being of other churches. And so we regularly seek and try to bless other churches, make our resources available, serve other churches freely where we can. So our feedback from other churches has been very encouraging. Whenever we speak to churches, they're very complimentary of the work that we're doing. And we are fully committed to helping all churches in our community and outside of our community thrive for the glory of God where possible. Again, if you want to know more about that, ask us, or maybe even ask some of the other churches what their experience is of us being Connect Church. That would be very helpful indeed. Hey, those were the 4 questions that were sent to me. I want to just share one more thing with you before we do the summary video in the next session. You may have heard me use a phrase, I think I've even said it in this video, connected to Connect Church, which is this idea of being a family on mission. This is not a phrase that is kind of one of our values or part of our vision, but it's one of those phrases that kind of very nicely kind of summarizes a lot of how we feel about what we're doing. So I just wanted to spend just a couple of minutes explaining that phrase to you when we say we're a family on mission. Because actually all 3 of those words are intentional and significant. So we're a family on mission. The fact that we're family is really important. When we talk about being one church and multiple locations, this idea of family helps quite a lot. For example, I have an immediate family. My mom, dad, sister, they're very close. And I have an extended family, aunties, uncles, cousins. I also have a much closer family, which is my household, just me and my wife. And each of these levels of family is really significant and really important. I spend more time and give more energy and more resource to some of those relationships than others, but I see them all as family. We're all in the family WhatsApp group, in our family for sure. Now, I know that family for some people is quite a complicated thing. But for us, we really believe that family is a biblical thing. And one, when done well, reflects the kingdom of God. It's a place of nourishment and strength and encouragement and support and care and being championed, being built up. All these things can happen in a healthy family. So whether you've had a good or bad experience of family, our desire is to give you a biblical place to be part of a new order type family. So we are family. Some of us close, some of us more extended, but all family together. The second part is that we're on mission. Now, sometimes when it comes to family, we want to create this kind of safe space, and it becomes a challenge to balance family and mission. And so it can feel like we need to be family and do all the stuff that family do, and we need to do mission. Or sometimes it can be that we want to do family at the expense of mission. It can become family or mission. Neither of these is how we see us being family. We see it as we're family on mission. That as we come together, both of us are immediate and wider family, we do it on mission together. All of us, all of the time. And mission, of course. We have a shared vision to build the kingdom and make disciples. But each of us has a different part to play in that, but it's all playing a part in the bigger mission. So when we use this phrase, family on mission, it has for us this element that it's all of us together, that we're in a relationship with one another, that we're on mission all of the time, and that mission, whether we play a small part, a big part, a bit on the edge or a bit right at the center, is all for the same mission to build the kingdom and make disciples. Maybe that's a phrase that helps you understand who we are as Connect Church, that we are family on mission for the glory of God and for Jesus' sake. Amen.